Everyone wants equity in a company, but don't get too excited until you check these red flags. First of all, the vesting schedule. What does that look like, and are there traps in it? The vesting period is when you actually receive the benefit of being able to purchase or receive the equity in the company. Sometimes that's over 3 or 4 years, but it can be distributed really in any way. So you might get only a very small fraction in the first year and the vast majority of it in the fourth year. So make sure you understand that. Two, there's no clear acceleration clause. So if the company is sold or you would get fired without cause, do you actually get your unvested shares, or do they accelerate on that point? So this becomes a problem, because if you lose everything upon, let's say, the company transferring ownership, you won't receive anything. It can literally cost you millions of dollars. Three, high strike prices for stock options. So let's say that the stock is currently worth $10 a share, and your company gives you the option to purchase shares, but it's at a strike price of $30 per share. Well, your equity is basically worthless until the company generates $20 more of value per share. So you're going to be paying more to exercise those shares than they're actually worth. Does your company have a liquidity plan? That's point 4. What if you happen to need to sell early? Is there a secondary market? Are there buyback rights? Is there a company-led program for liquidity? So employees can get stuck actually with stock that they can't sell for 10 or even 15 years. Look on point 5 for complex or unfair cliff arrangements. Typically a cliff, which means you earn nothing generally for 1 year, but it can be longer. A red flag would be 18 months or 24 months to vest anything. If you're let go before the cliff, you'll actually receive nothing. 6, unclear tax implications. This can be a huge one, because often employees don't understand that exercising stock options can trigger huge taxes. For example, restricted stock units are taxed as income at the point of vesting. So you can really have to pay the IRS a lot of money. If you're not familiar with it, check out 83B elections, because they can save you a lot of money in certain circumstances. A lot of people are not aware of them. So basically, a bad tax structure for equity will become a liability for you. 7, the dilution without transparency. So if the company raises more money, your percentage is actually obviously going to shrink. Your voting power will shrink. Your upside will shrink. Look for anti-dilution details, at least some level of visibility. No information rights. Are you permitted to see anything? Do you know where the financials are? The cap table in your company? What fundraising terms they're doing? If you have no idea what is going on and you can't see any of this, you can't value what your equity is actually worth. 9, there's no protection if you're terminated. So if they fire you, do you lose your unvested equity? Generally, the answer is going to be yes. How long do you have to exercise any options or equity that you receive after you leave? It's often 90 days. So imagine you leave a company with totally vested position, but you might have to buy that equity after just 90 days, or you'll lose it all. So that's something to also be aware of. And then finally, the confusing percent versus shares game. So a lot of times a company might tell you, oh, you're getting 20,000 shares. But look, imagine there's 600 million shares out there, right? You're receiving very, very little of the company. So it sounds like it's a big number because it's 20,000, but in reality, it's not going to really make you very much. So these are things that you need to be aware of if you are receiving an equity grant. They could save you a lot of money.